Armchair Explorer is a part of the Voyescape podcast network. Check out all of their shows from around the world at voyescape.com. This episode is sponsored by Smart Travel, a new podcast from NerdWallet. You know, we've all got that one friend, haven't we? That one who finds all the best travel deals, picks the right cards, and somehow ends up in first class for the price of coach. Well, now you can be that friend because Smart Travel is like him or her, but in podcast form. They cover all things travel finance, like how to get real value from points, not just a tiny little reward at the end of checkout, or which flight deals are actually deals and not just clickbait, or when that convenient travel bundle might actually be a hidden tax in disguise, all that stuff. So travel smarter and spend less with help from NerdWallet. Follow Smart Travel wherever you get your podcasts. Happy New Year, everyone. 2025, it's going to be a good one, I reckon. And if you're like me, one of my resolutions every single year with varying levels of success, I must admit, is to get healthier mind and body, and especially mind. We are just too stressed. All of us, I know I am. We have too many lists, we work too hard, we scroll too much, we care too much about what other people think. And life is just too short for all of that. I've had some stuff happen this year that really made me think about that and realize that we just need to chill out and enjoy every moment, be grateful for every moment. And that's what I'm hoping to do. At the end of every day, one of the things that I try and do, and this is part of my resolution to do more of this, is list the things that I'm grateful for that day. Gratitude, by the way, is just the hack for everything. And those things that I list are never what I've achieved. They are small things, small moments, which otherwise might go unnoticed. They are the things that don't cost time. They don't cost money. They might just be something simple like a dinner with my family, a laugh I had with my friends, something beautiful I saw out in nature that day. The things at the top of my list every morning are the things I have to achieve that day. That's where my mind always seems to be focused in the morning. But those things are never what I'm thankful for at the end of the day. And there's something in that. So I'm going to try and be more grateful. I'm going to try and chill out. So with that in mind, we're going to start the new year with an episode about wellness in the desert. From healing waters and sound baths to bird singers and starry nights. The desert is just magical. I really do think there is something healing about that environment. And our presenter, Brian Thacker, is going to take us on this journey. You might remember him for a bunch of other stuff we did. So he's good fun to travel with. This is the third in our series about Palm Springs. And I hope it inspires you to have a relaxed start to the year. Take some of that pressure off. Enjoy those small moments and be grateful at the end of every day. Enjoy this. This is Brian Thacker and Wellness in the Desert.
Sorry, I just spoke one all. Anyway, I'm sitting in a spa, but not just any spa. Below me is an ancient underground aquifer filled with water that has served as the heart and soul of the Agua Caliente Indians for centuries. But it's not just about relaxing. I'm also taking part in a sacred tradition known as taking of the waters. Welcome to episode 3, Wellness in the Desert. My name's Brian Thacker and I'm a travel writer. Before movie star colonies, country clubs and pool parties, the first people to lay claim to Palm Springs were the Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians. A grove of honey mesquite trees alerted them to water and the original hot springs that now bubble under the spa at Séc-he in the centre of Palm Springs. These waters held healing powers to the local tribes, and today people from around the world visit Greater Palm Springs for the curative hot mineral springs and the myriad of health and wellness treatments on offer. So take a deep breath, because in this episode we're going to relax, refresh and recharge.
The springs in the area were everything to the people. They said that our medicine men could use those as transportation because they had powers beyond comprehension to what we understand nowadays. And they could use it to travel from one place to the next. And it wasn't every member could do this. It was the special members that had these gifts that were bestowed to them by the Creator.
This is John Preckwinkle III, Tribal Council member for the Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians. We're in Andreas Canyon, 10 minutes out of town. It's here that the Cahuilla put the springs into Palm Springs. The name is derived from these hot springs and the grove of indigenous palm trees that surrounded it.
The spring in reference, Séc-he, which means the sound of boiling water, was actually used as an economic business for our people. Tribes would come from as far as the coast down through the mountains just to sit in our spring water because the spring is full of minerals. But in our creation stories, when we came to this area, there was a very powerful headman. His name was Tutamit. And Tutamit took his huyinahat and he drove it into the ground and he twisted it around until water sprang forth. And the water was created from that spot for healing. So the spring is supposed to be an eternal spring. It is from the earth and to remain upon the earth and never to dry up and to be used for healing. So tribes would come from all over and trade us anything that they could so that they could experience these waters. So we've been managing it for thousands and thousands of years.
Ask any member of John's tribe how long his people have been in the Coachella Valley, and you're likely to receive the same 3-word answer: since time immemorial. The tribe's presence predates any calendar, record, or memory.
When we closed our first spa, to me it was the first spa because that was what existed when I was born. But this is now our 5th iteration of the bathhouse. And, every time we've had people come and try and take it from us, and we've always managed to get it back and keep it within the tribe. And so when we closed it for 9 years, the members were hurt by that because there are some members that would go every day. We would take friends, we would take family, but our general purpose is to soak in those waters to receive the benefits. And so when we're without those waters, it troubles us, just slightly because we're supposed to be around those waters. We're supposed to interact with those waters. And so, for a period of time, we were without the spring. And, now that it's back, you have members that are thankful, and we go constantly. And that's what it was created for by Tutamit, was for us as a people to heal ourselves and to just have that everlasting wellness. Taking of the waters is essentially getting to experience the water. So water that falls today, will not be seen for 11,000 years because the water will travel down about 1.5 miles and then it's pushed up through geothermal energy and it comes back to the spring. Well, on its 1.5 mile journey, it collects all sorts of minerals and it gets pushed back up. So that's why the composition is unlike any other in the world. It's a very unique place. It's very unique water. So it doesn't feel like water. It feels a little bit thicker, but not like a gross kind of thickness. And so the taking of the waters is for you to experience these waters as our people have done for thousands and thousands of years. When you have a deeper understanding of the spring itself, you get a sense of home sitting in those waters, interacting with those waters. I didn't grow up on the reservation, but I wanted to be near the reservation after going there as a child and experiencing that. I wanted to always be around this place because there's something just magical about here.
Taking to the waters is being able to take part in something that's very historical. What you're doing is you're really stepping kind of back in time, doing a practice that they've been sharing for a long time.
This is Daniel Spencer, director of the spa at Séc-he. We're sitting in the Tranquility Garden, where guests wait for treatments. There's landscape gardens, a waterfall, and a bubbling stream that meanders through the middle of the room.
It's just rich waters coming right out. They've been down there for thousands of years. These are 12,000-year-old waters. And so, they're sitting there, they're picking up all those minerals. As you soak in the waters, you feel that sense like you're sitting in something silky soft. Your skin ends up hydrated for days after. So it's exfoliating, it softens the skin. It's great for the joints. It just really kind of has a combination of having all the best benefits of mineral water.
Water, earth and nature have a long association with wellness, but just simply being outdoors has proven to be beneficial for your health.
So there's a thing called forest bathing. That was some studies done in Japan where they found that, high amounts of cortisol gets dropped when you're walking in nature, when you're smelling nature. If you visually see nature, it can even have an impact. Same thing with listening to birds sing. Just that, even after you're done listening for 3 to 5 minutes of listening to birds, the study showed that hours later, people maintained a low cortisol level from it. So it has a long-term impact.
Sound has always played an integral part in feeding your mind, body and soul. So to achieve that, I'm going to take a bath. But not one filled with water and bubbles. I'm going to take a sound bath. I'm about to be awash in the sonic landscape of singing bowls.
So we'll get started by getting you into your comfortable position, and you can just lie down on your mat, placing the bolster under your knees if you want for support for your lower back.
This is Liz Cortez from Heart and Soul Yoga. We're in Rancho Mirage, one of the 9 towns in Greater Palm Springs.
And just allowing yourself to come down into this space of ease and support. Moving anything that needs to move, so you can feel very comfortable into the space of this room, into the space of your physical human body. And moving into the medicine of sound meditation, which invites your body to go into a daydreamy-like state of consciousness, where you're not quite asleep and you're not quite awake.
The healing nature of sound has been recognised for centuries, with many ancient cultures using sound as a form of therapy. As far back as 40,000 years ago, the Australian Aborigines used the didgeridoo as a healing force, producing a low-frequency sound that we can hear, as well as vibrations that we can feel.
If at any point your mind begins to lose its way, just come back to a slow pace of breath. Fully resting here, feeling supported. Opening up the space of your heart to receive the medicine and the wisdom of the vibrational singing bowls. Rest now in your Shavasana. While you're resting here in the space of your Shavasana, take a few final moments to receive any bits of wisdom or insights that you were meant to have, and lovingly welcoming yourself back. And taking your time, restoring back into the body. Rolling onto your side.
That was great. Particularly with those big low notes, they were going like you could feel it going, vibrating through your body. Yeah. Absolutely. It felt like it was coming from everywhere around the room, the sound. You felt the same? Yeah.
Not just that it was coming from everywhere, but that it moved.
This is our sound guy, Jason. He was really excited by this because, sound is his thing.
I didn't think about it in the time, but I know you're seated. The bowls are not on wheels. You're not rolling around the room or anything, but it was moving around me entirely.
The hearing it from all over the place, because I get that a lot. They're like, were you walking around? And sometimes I do walk around. I have other instruments that I incorporate and I'll walk around and do things over you, but I'm pretty primarily here, and so people do feel like I'm moving around them, and it's really not. So it kind of travels through you and from one ear and out the other, or you'll hear it differently in the ears. Every time is different when you take a sound bath. It's always a unique experience to just whatever's going on with you at the time. So that's what's so special about it is a vibrational medicine. It's speaking to your energy.
And is it different each time that you do it? It just depends on what you're feeling as well? Like it changes every time that you do it, I imagine?
It does. It changes every time. Sometimes I'll start from one end and go through the next, or sometimes I'll start right in on the heart. It really is the feeling of the room, the feeling of what is kind of needed at the time.
What did you start with today and why?
Today I started with this big bowl because I just felt like it was just very grounding and very supportive. Yeah. You've been on this adventure, so I just really wanted to bring you into the space and just welcome you in here. And then I think a lot of people come to Palm Springs because this is a space where there's a lot of sunshine, so where there's warmth and there's healing here, and it's a slower pace of life where you can just come and let your body relax and do things like yoga and sound baths so that you can reset. And I just think it's so important that we take these time out for ourselves to do this.
I actually felt like a bit of a nap after soaking in the sunshine and sound bath, which is actually perfect because there's another kind of healing light in Palm Springs. But to see it, we'll have to wait until after the sun goes down.
I think that anyone who has ever stood up on a mountain on a clear night and seen the center of the Milky Way galaxy, the bulge of stars at the center, the stripes of the gas and dust lanes that are there, it's overwhelming.
This is Ron Treat, a docent at the Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory.
We recently had a partial eclipse of the sun here, and we had over 700 people come and see it, and the reaction is visceral. I've seen people overcome with emotion just looking through our telescope.
Why do you think that is?
Because there's something fundamental in our makeup that when we get in touch with, the skies and such, when we get in touch with nature, we react to it that way. It's in our system. I mean, we're part of it. I enjoy spreading the word and talking to people, and so that they can feel some of that overwhelming feeling of understanding, of being emotionally attached and being intellectually attached to these things.
There's a widespread belief that observing the night sky results in positive and even transformative feelings. A recent trial at the University of California, Berkeley, found that awe causes a near instant drop in stress levels.
When you realize that the human being sits exactly between the vastness of the cosmos and the quantum foam that makes up the universe, we're right in the middle of that. And so being able to relate to that, being able to try to understand and grasp the meaning of that, to me, that's what you would call spirituality. But from my perspective, it's the connection to it that's important, that I know that I'm the result of supernova explosions, that the iron in my blood, the calcium in my bones came from inside a star. So I'm not only looking at the universe, I'm part of it. I'm intricately woven from the universe.
In the middle of the observatory is a huge telescope pointed towards a gap in the dome ceiling.
If you look out the opening slit here, you can see Orion is framed beautifully in it. And we have the 3 stars that make up the belt, and a little bit to the lower right, we have the Orion Nebula. And over here, if we step over just a little bit, you'll see a bright reddish star. That is Betelgeuse.
Oh, yeah.
A star that may or may not exist anymore. It's a hyper-red giant, and it may have run out of its nuclear fuel and blown up. But because it's 600 light years away, we won't know for a while.
Oh, wow. It's beyond my comprehension.
Seeing things that might not exist at all.
That's true.
It's all very abstract to think about the scale and time of distant stars. But what if we considered something more familiar?
Let's have a look at Uranus, and we pronounce it Uranus.
I can understand why.
We're looking at about a 300 power magnification of this kind of a light blue planet. And the mirror here is so large compared to our eye. This is 700 millimeters, and our eye is about 6 millimeters. So that's a large factor, and it's about 2.5 light hours away, meaning it takes light over 2.5 hours to reach us from the planet, reflected from the sun.
So you talk about that in light hours as opposed to distance?
Yes, in astronomy, distance, working with miles or kilometers doesn't make a lot of sense. Even when we start getting to the solar system, it makes sense if we're talking about the distance to the moon or the width of a planet. But when we start getting out multiple hundreds of millions of miles, it becomes untenable. You just can't track it.
Distance also means time, because light has a maximum speed limit. That means it takes time for light to reach us from a very distant source. So the light we see is something that has already happened, often a long time ago. Whenever we look up at the night sky, we're in essence travelling back in time.
Hubble space photos and the James Webb space photos that have looked around 13 billion years into the past. And there's a limit as to how far back you can look, because you reach what's called a light curtain there, where at a certain point the universe hadn't condensed into atoms and having photons. It was just a quantum mass. So that was about 380,000 years after the Big Bang is when the atoms began to form. And that was really when the universe began to take shape as we know it now.
Insane. What do you feel about the concept of looking back in time? It seems like sci-fi nonsense, but it's totally real.
It's how would I say it? Because of the way I view things, to me, it's just the wonders of nature. The fact that I know that the sun is like 500 light seconds away, so I know every time I look at a sunset, I missed it.
Oh, right.
The sunset 500 light seconds ago, and I'm just now getting the light from it. But the sun is gone.
So if you were to pick one celestial object to represent the Palm Springs area, what would you look for?
Oh, goodness. It would have to be very bright, noticeable, and gorgeous, so I'd probably go with Saturn.
The skies in Palm Springs are so starry, they rival even the local celebrity hotspots. And in nearby Joshua Tree National Park, there's more stars than there is sky.
If we came stargazing like 90 years ago, we would have had like a debate about whether or not there were other galaxies outside our Milky Way. The number now that we use to describe the number of galaxies is 2 trillion.
Wow.
This is Caitlin from Skywatcher's Star Tours.
We're really exploring the universe in ways we couldn't have imagined that were purely sci-fi. One of the cool things about that many galaxies being out there is we can observe their morphology, and they're all different.
It was cold standing out in the Mojave Desert, but we had hot chocolate, hand warmers and blankets. And we had 2 magical hours looking at galaxies, star formations, and the planet Jupiter. As we looked in the telescope at Jupiter, we could see so much detail, even the orange waves of clouds that were storms raging across the surface. If awe and wonder are good for you, then we were getting it in spades.
Dark skies reconnect us with humanity. The view of the Milky Way that most of us have through photography is new and unique. Most human eyes have looked up and seen galactic light as it is. So getting in touch with that, the same thing humans have experienced since humans had necks and words, you can feel it. You know that it's important. There's also just physical aspects to constantly being surrounded by light, especially artificial light. The way we have kind of denied ourselves seasons by making kind of an unchanging schedule by controlling light pulls us away from the rhythms that built us. So reconnecting with light's schedule, understanding why summer's brighter longer and why winter is darker, and staying in touch with that schedule is valuable to our health. It's also important, critically important for wildlife. humans have adapted and we made these choices to light up our environment, and we benefit from it to some degree, even if there's loss, but wildlife just loses. So moths aren't dumb. They don't fly around light because they don't get it. They fly around light because they are biologically designed to keep the moon on their left. And the more light bulbs there are, the more moons. So we watch animals' behavior that's been kind of scheduled and determined by the stars and the natural light around us, and we wonder at it, but we wouldn't wonder so much if we were in better touch with it ourselves. So, nature responds to us, but we can respond to nature too, and there's huge benefit from plugging in. I can't recommend enough getting hip to the moon schedule. If you look up at 2:30 in the afternoon and are not surprised to see the moon, you tapped into a very cool way to watch time move. So, yeah, light is the way we understand space. Light is the way we understand our universe, and light has a profound effect on our health day to day, most certainly. Natural light's the best one you can get. Natural dark is part of light. So wherever you can find dark, go for it.
The Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians knew the night skies intimately. The science of the skies was crucial to their stories and songs. These in turn held the essence of their cultural identity and well-being. As well as generations of local tribes taking to the healing waters, there is another tradition that is native to these tribes called birdsong. It's a way to share stories and to heal in times of grief. Only a few people carry on this tradition, and lucky for us, John Preckwinkle is one of them.
So the birdsong is actually the story of our people's travels after the creation story. So in the creation story, we're taught everything that we're supposed to do in life in order to get to the next life properly. Our religion was 100% strict. You couldn't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You just had to follow the rules to a T in order to be considered a good person. And so we would be taught these stories and these legends for about a week straight. And then on the final 3 nights would come in the bird songs. So the bird songs would be the stories of our travels on how we got to the areas that we're in. So every clan that had the songs, sang the songs, would end their songs with how they got to their area. So the bird songs, they're life lessons and stories in their own, but there are social songs, so we're allowed to sing them all year long. But, there's power in our songs. So when we get together and we sing these songs, we're invoking this power from within, and we're sharing it with the people. So when we tell our stories through song, we're pushing out this power, this goodness into the world. So we're taught not to do these things with like a bad heart or, if we're sad or anything like that. So we have certain rules and everything like that for singing. Like, if you're in mourning, if you lose somebody, you're not supposed to go sing. So you have to come in with like a good mindset, a good heart, and you sing these songs and you do it for the people.
Out of a leather bag, John brings out a neatly bundled cloth package and very carefully unwraps it to reveal a wooden gourd.
It's emptied and filled with palm tree seeds. So the seeds that grow here in our canyons would go into making this instrument. That's the noise that you're going to hear. We use a gourd nowadays for our rattles. There is a natural gourd that grows here, but it's too brittle to use as a rattle long term. So we would trade with Arizona tribes to get these gourds. Now we can go to a gourd farm and purchase these things. And then our handles, so it just depends on where you were geographically, because here we would use cottonwood, because cottonwood is a very light wood and it grows straight. So you let it grow, you cut down the limb, and then it's very lightweight. So our songs were sung from sundown to sunup 3 nights in a row to tell our full story. And if you have a heavy wood like oak, it would hurt your wrist. So we use a lightweight wood. If you come from the mountains, they would use red cedar handles. So this song has one word, yoima. And yoima in our language means cold. And, I like to sing it in the wintertime.
rattle of the gourd and John's deep voice filled the canyon. Palm trees danced in the breeze and water tumbled over rocks in perfect harmony. Past, present and future funneled into a single moment.
When I was first introduced to singing, it was through CDs that the Smithsonian had done of my great-grandfather. And he was the last ceremonial singer for the Agua Caliente and for the Cahuilla in general. And so I had become, instantly infatuated with these songs, and I wanted to learn them. And so I had to find somebody that had learned from my great-grandfather. So when I became an adult, I started learning from someone who had learned from my great-grandfather, and then I found a couple other teachers throughout the years. I've been blessed in so many ways, and I came across these songs, and for some reason they just struck me in a way where I needed to learn these songs and pass them on. So like I'm teaching them to other members of the tribe. I'm teaching them to various tribes throughout Southern California because my great-grandfather did not hold it back and say this was our songs, you can't have them. He put them out there and taught people that were worthy of being taught. And I've tried my hardest to keep a good heart and be worthy of these songs. And even talking to my deceased great aunt, because I had to go and ask her for permission and get permission to sing these songs as a lead singer. And there was no hesitation because I had done so well in life to get to this point that, it was, if you feel comfortable, you feel confident, then you have my blessing. So, these songs mean a lot to me, and I don't take them for granted. And even in our culture, it's, we're taught not to play with the songs, not to take them lightly, because even though our social songs, there is still power in our songs. And if you play with the songs and do wrong with the songs, things will come back on you.
The first birdsong we heard used only one powerful word, cold. But other birdsongs tell a story, with some almost as ancient as the springs themselves.
This song is one of the clans coming to the end of their journey, and they're seeing a woodpecker and a flicker bird flying around. I'll translate this song. So, Tomyet ayawiwa when the sun is already up. Kiyu meta. So, meta is a pond. So the sun's rays are on the earth. Kiyul is early morning. So the sun is up and it's already on the earth, and the kupanya, the woodpecker, and the flicker bird, which is the tavish, are flying around.
It was an incredible feeling of peace and warmth, just standing in this ancient palm grove, listening to these bird songs that tribes would have sung here since time immemorial, and possibly right here on this very spot. Sadly, it was time to say goodbye, but...
So in the Cahuilla language, we don't have a word for goodbye. We don't believe in goodbyes. We believe that we will either see you in this life or the next once again. So we'll say, I'll see you later, them, or we'll tell people, go in a good way so that I can see you in the next life. Achakwanehichine.
When the Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians found these springs, they knew they had power. I felt it soaking in the 12,000-year-old waters at Séc-he, and I felt it standing in the shadows of ancient palms in Andreas Canyon. Wellness and healing are deeply connected to nature, and Greater Palm Springs has it in the hot sands of the desert, the bubbling waters, the sea of stars, and deep-rooted indigenous traditions that have been here since, time immemorial. It's what makes Palm Springs unique, and it's why you should come here and find your Palm Springs. Thanks for joining me. Remember, you too can experience everything we've done in this episode. Just go to visit greaterpalmsprings.com for inspiration. Thank you to everyone who featured in this episode. Daniel Spencer from the spa at Séc-he, John Preckwinkle from the Agua Caliente band of Cahuilla Indians, Liz Cortez from Heart and Soul Yoga, Ron Treat from the Rancho Mirage Library and Observatory, and Caitlin from Skywatchers Star Tours. If you enjoyed this episode, and if you haven't already, be sure to listen to episode 1 and 2 in this series. So hit that subscribe button and follow us wherever you get your shows. You don't want to miss any of this. This series was produced by Armchair Productions, the audio experts for the travel industry. I'm Brian Thacker, and I wrote and hosted the series. Jason Patton recorded, mixed and sound designed it, and Aaron Miller executive produced it. Till next time.
I'm Max Hartshorn, host of the Go Nomad Travel Podcast. Every week, I bring you a short 5 to 8 minute escape to somewhere unexpected. I cover the kinds of travel stories you don't hear anywhere else, quirky destinations, unusual adventures, and people who make the world endlessly interesting. If you love discovering new places but don't have time for a long show, these bite-sized episodes are perfect for your commute, your walk, or your coffee break. Join me on the Go Nomad Travel Podcast and explore the world in just a couple of minutes.
If you want to travel more, ideally in luxury, but without the luxury price tag, this show is for you. I'm DeAndre Koch, and on Revolutionizing Your Journey, I use my unique vantage point as a financial advisor to break down exactly how my wife and I leverage credit card points and miles to fly business class, stay at 5-star resorts, and take bucket list trips for a fraction of the cost. Each week, I share real strategies packed with actionable tips and interview some of the smartest travelers in the game to help you revolutionize the way you travel. Travel well, live boldly, and find Revolutionizing Your Journey wherever you get your podcasts.